So in this video, we're going to look at how we're going to use in expected opinion loss to make decision. So here, basically, when you watch this video, you should already watch the expected payoff method. So here, the methods are very similar, except instead of using the payoff, we are using the loss function, using the loss to make a decision. So in order to get the loss, the expected opportunity loss, we have to think about how we creating the loss function, loss table. Because we did learn how to get the payoff table, but we didn't learn how to get the loss table. And after you receive the loss table, so for each decision alternative, they will have a bunch of loss, and then each loss is attached on the probability of their state of nature. So basically, you're using the same method you can use for the expected value, but you are based on the loss table. So first, we're going to look at how we're going to create the loss table. So we're using the same case, and the ski resort renting or not renting the snowmaking machine. And so the table I'm showing you here is the one we already seen many times. So this is our payoff table. So how can we convert the payoff table to the loss table? So please follow what I said, and to think about what do we mean by loss. So sometimes we call loss as regret, because the decision make you feel very regretful, right? So sometimes you make decision, like for instance, this morning you eat some, let's say AAA, and you had a diarrhea, and you say, oh, I should have not eat a AAA, I should eat McDonald's. So that kind of regret. So the decision you make, and after the result come out and make you feel very regretful. So now we basically try to convert this payoff table to that kind of regret table. So let's see. We have two options, not listing and the leasing right here. And so how the regret gonna coming from? So let's see if the winter is mild. So if the winter is mild, and then you make decision to choose not listing. So if the winter is mild, for sure you choose not listing, will you feel regret? The answer is, of course, because if you lease, you actually make 30,000. Now you only make 20,000. So therefore, you do feel regret. By how much? By 10,000, right? So the $10,000 going to be your regret. However, if you chose this, if the winter is mild, will you feel any regret? The answer is no. You got the highest you can get, 30,000. So therefore, the regret or loss will be 0. So we use the same idea to figure out winter is typical, winter is severe. So if the winter is typical, and so if you chose not listing, will you feel regret? Of course, you can make 35,000 if you make listing. So therefore, you have regret by 5,000. However, if you list snowmaking machine, you have 0 regret. And so if the winter tends to be typical, if you choose not listing, will feel regret? No, of course, you make as high as you can, so that's 0. So if you choose not listing, and then you basically just waste your money to rent a snowmaking machine. Therefore, you do feel regret by how much? By 10,000. So I put all the red number together to make it as new table. So this table is called the opportunity loss table. Again, you feel very regret. So I just how you get your opportunity loss table. So now we're gonna base on this table to calculate the expected loss. Like I said, the method are very similar as what we did before. Instead, using the payoff table, we're using the opportunity loss table. So that's what we did. So to calculate not listing, we are using 10,000, 5,000, and 0, and combine with my probability to calculate it. We got 5,500. And if we decide to list, and we use 0, 0, 10,000 to calculate our expected loss, so and combine it with my probability, so I got 2,000. So now what's your final decision? Don't tell me not listing. The reason is because remember, here we are calculating the loss. So the larger means you lose more, the smaller means you lose less. So here your criterion is to choose the value, the option that gives you the smallest loss. So therefore your answer will be listing. So let's look at the answer. So your decision will be listing, because if you are listing, you only lose 2,000. If you decide not listing, you actually lost 5,500. So that is how you use the expected opportunity loss to make a decision. So now let's look at the attendance check question. And so after we learning here, you know that in order to answer the last question on the attendance check, the first thing you need to do is need to calculate the loss function. So look at question number 4. What is the decision based on the expected loss? First of all, we have to convert my payoff table to the loss table, right? So payoff table to the loss table. So let's start to creating our loss table first. So I just try to make put on here. You can put anywhere you want. So we have S1 0.4%, S2 have 0.2%, S3 has 0.4%, and then we have model A, B, and C, right? So now we're gonna get our loss. First, model A. If S1 happened, if you chose model A, do you feel any regret? Of course not, because 10,000, 8,000, 6,000, 10,000 is maximum you can make. However, if you chose model B, do you feel regret? Of course. By how much? By 2,000. So if you choose model C, of course you regret. By how much? By 4,000. So now that's the first column. Now look at the second column. Let's see if S2 happened. If you chose model A, will you feel regret? Look at these 3. Of course, because the highest you can make is 18,000, but you chose model A, you only make 15,000. You do feel regret by how much? By 3,000, because the difference between 18,000 and 15,000 is 3,000. If you chose model B, you don't feel any regret. If you chose model C, you still $2,000 short, right? So now we look at the last column. If you chose, if S3 happened, if you chose model A, do you feel regret? Of course, the highest you can make is 21,000. So by how much? So by 7,000. If you chose model B, you do feel regret. So by 9,000. And if you choose model C, you don't feel any regret. So now this is my loss table. To answer question number 4, you're going to base on this table, right? Based on this table. So expected opportunity loss for A, expected opportunity loss for B, and expected opportunity loss for C. So let's calculate together. Again, you're going to combine the payoff in each row and combine them with the probability. So if you chose model A, and then you have 40% chance to not nothing, and plus you have 20% chance to make 3,000, and plus you have another 40% chance to make to loss 7,000. So if you use calculator, you do the calculation, you will get a $3,400 loss. So now look at the opportunity loss for B. So you have 40% chance to lose 2,000, right? And then plus 0, right? So then you have 20% chance to lose 0, and then you have 40% chance to lose 9,000. So then your loss will be $4,400,000. So that is the expected loss if you chose model B. So if you chose model C, so you have 40% chance to lose 4,000, and plus you have 20% chance to lose 2,000, and then you have 40% chance to lose nothing. And then you do the calculation, and your loss will be 2,000. So now this is the first step. You calculate expected opportunity loss. What is your final decision? Again, this is all the losses. It's not gain. So therefore, you're gonna chose C. Why? Because C give you the smallest loss, only 2,000. So therefore, you chose model C. So this is the end of this chapter, and then good luck in your homework and also your finals.